Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 19th of April, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Dingle, a.k.a. Motanoa. Taping this one about an hour after Game 1, Pistons versus Knicks. I saw Luka going berserk in the first quarter of the Lakers-Timberwolves game. And there was something about I just didn't care. My motivation for it was just any other day, any other scenario, I would have been licking my chops. I would have been like, holy smokes, this was because the truth is when they kept flashing during the Pistons Knicks game, like, and coming up after this, Los Angeles Lakers at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves versus Game 1. And they kept showing Luka and LeBron warming up together on the court. And I just, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't. The association, my eyes and my brain just weren't making the connection that it's still real. And sure, they've been on the same team for 2 months, but it's the playoffs and it just feels a little bit different. So Luka goes for like 16 in the first quarter. I didn't care. I really didn't care. We're not going to cover that game because it's still happening as I'm taping this. The games that happen on Sunday, we're not going to cover because I don't care. Nothing matters anymore. And you're getting an early episode. I just thought it would be best if because I know why you're fucking here, and I just thought it would be better if I immediately taped after the Pistons lost to the Knicks in Game 1 to get my most raw and authentic takes out there. So why don't we, instead of just talking about what happened at the end of the game, Pistons versus Knicks, Game 1 in the Garden. You know, it's funny that over the last week, I and some of you at home who are Knicks fans were sort of at odds over who the best player in the series is. And it was either between Jalen Brunson or it was Cade Cunningham, right? And then the first half of that first game, neither of them. It was neither of them. Neither of them were the best. Neither of them were the best player in the series. It was neither of them. Brunson was like 3 of 14. How many points did Cade have? It was single digits. He was getting some assists here and there, and both of them were impacting the game in ways that didn't involve scoring, but when it actually came to scoring the basketball, neither of them were doing anything. They were just kind of putting shit up, and it was funny. I mean, for the Pistons, it was Tobias Harris in the first half, and, you know, for the Knicks, OG was doing well. Mitchell Robinson only had 6 points in that first half, but they were 6 super loud points, and for a guy who missed like 90% of this season, I don't want to say it was cool to see that because it was against my favorite team. It was not really that cool to see that insane putback that he had. I was like, where's this guy been? Where's that been from Mitchell Robinson? It was a super conservative first half from both teams, I thought. And it was incredibly physical, but it wasn't like, I don't know, there was a sort of blend of like ticky-tack fouls getting called. I'm so tired of baseline, I'm up and down defending this guy, but because my hips are positioned the wrong way and the guy gets bumped out of bounds, suddenly it's my fault and now it's a blocking foul. There was one that Asar had on, I think it was OG on the baseline, and they just kept calling him for that. You know, early on in the game, I mean, like literally the first few minutes of the game, Asar tried picking Brunson up like 90 feet from the basket, and he got called for some stuff. Man, it was just one of those games. It started to feel that way, but the score would have indicated that it was not one of those games. And, you know, you go into halftime, I don't know, man. The takeaway was what for the first half? Like, good for Trajan Langdon for going after all of these vets, I guess, because that was the saving grace for the Pistons. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, you go into a series like this and you know that the young guys are going to, it's not like a bright lights thing, but it's just different. The switch that you have to flip in the playoffs, it's just different. And so in the offseason, when you go after guys like Tobias Harris and you get Malik Beasley, and then in the middle of the season, you get Dennis Schroeder, you know, that stuff matters because those guys have played some big minutes in the playoffs before on some teams that have been successful. And wouldn't you know it, those were the guys that were coming through for the Pistons. I think at halftime, those three accounted for like 70% of the Pistons' points. And so you're feeling good about it if you're a Pistons fan, and you're feeling kind of weird about it if you're a Knicks fan. You're like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Because Karl Anthony Towns, for the entirety of the game up until that fourth quarter, he wasn't shooting threes. He was just doing bully ball, right? He was just doing, I'm going to put a shoulder into you, and I'm going to drive the next like 15 feet, and I'm going to get a bucket, and there's literally nothing that you can do about it. His blow-bys were on point. It's like, I don't know how many, I could pull it up, but I don't know how many shots Karl Anthony Towns ended up hitting in this game, but I swear, man, what do you want to say, 70 or 80% of them were off balance? And shots that have no business going in, but that's just Karl Anthony Towns. So as somebody who's been a stockholder of his forever, I've never wavered on him, and anytime people call him a baby or they call him soft, I've just said that they were dumb, and I didn't believe it. And it's one thing when it's not happening to your team, and then suddenly it does, and then you're just kind of like rubbing your eyes like a goddamn Looney Tunes character, and you don't really know what to do with yourself, because it's like you were blessed by the fact that Josh Hart got into foul trouble early in this game, because he was just completely MIA. He was not able to physically be in the game because he picked up too many fouls early on. And what does he play? Maybe 7 minutes in that first half. And, conversely for the Pistons, I think going into halftime, it was 3 fouls for both Duren and for Cade. And so that was something that you were kind of keeping a pin in. And I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I mean, I kind of do. By the time that you get to that fourth quarter and the Pistons are in a really good spot, I mean, going into the fourth, they're up, I think, 7 or something, and the Knicks are at like 83 points, and you're like, what is it? The Garden had been quiet for a large majority of that of that third quarter, and then you learned something. You learned that there really are levels to it, and your ability as a team to move up that ladder and very literally go up a level when it matters, right? When it's crunch time. That's what the Knicks learned last year. That's what the Knicks got good at last year. That was the lesson for them, is like, I don't know how to articulate. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I'm shell-shocked right now. I can't believe what I just watched. I can't. Because I wasn't texting my brother for the entire game. He's the only guy I could have texted for the entire game. I wasn't talking. We were not talking because it was going well. And I think we were just kind of like, don't mess with it. Don't say anything. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And then when the buzzer sounds, if they do it, then say something about it. But they said something at the end of the game. I don't remember if it was Richard Jefferson or Mike Breen. But it was like, when you win, you can't overreact to the high of winning that first game, and then when you lose, you can't overreact to the low of losing that game. I'm not on the team. I'm not wearing a uniform, so very thankfully that does not apply to me. I'm very much overreacting to that first, but it's not because like I'm scared. It's not because I'm like worried about the rest of the series. It was just such a harsh reality check that like, god damn, there really are levels to this. And the Knicks go on a 21-0 run to start that fourth quarter. The first 2 possessions that Detroit had, the quarter starts, the fourth quarter starts, and the Pistons get a 5-second violation. Can't inbound the ball to start the quarter. You're like, that was weird. I didn't like that. And then the next time that they get possession, it was a 24-second violation. What's going on here? And then they just didn't make a shot for, what was it? 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. It may as well have been the entire damn quarter. And it's one thing if it was like Jalen Brunson, who, we mentioned at the beginning of this, he and Cade were both horrible in the first half of this game. He started the game, Brunson did, I think it was 3 of 14, and then he finished the game 9 of 14. He was able to get to the line. I think he only maybe missed once from the free throw line, and he turned it on in the second half, despite the fact that he tweaked his ankle like 1.5 times. And I don't know what happened. I was just making a point, and then I knew where it was going, and then as I was saying it, I just started thinking about the Avalanche, and I don't know where it was going. What just happened? I'm not sure. I really don't know. I'm bummed, man. Like it's I really thought it was gonna happen. And then suddenly it just kind of doesn't, and then the Pistons lose, and Asar Thompson smokes a wide open dunk, and you think about the guys who like, Tobias is hitting so many shots in the first half of this game that you're like, whoa, you're waiting for somebody on this team to have like a moment in the Garden, and you're like, wow, is it really going to come from Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley and from Dennis Schroeder, who for the most part was great in this game. And it's like, that's what I was going to say. It's one thing if it's Brunson who does it in the second half, despite the fact that he kept tweaking his ankle. It is truly an entirely different thing. This is the reality that I'm rejecting right now. Champagne campaign. I'm not just saying this because he had like 11 in the fourth quarter and he only played 14 minutes and he ended up scoring 13. And, 11 of those were the most crucial. I'm not saying it just because of that. I fucking hate him. I've always hated him when he was in Phoenix. He's ugly, and I don't think he's good, and I don't like the way that he looks, and I think his build is stupid. It's the same way that I feel about Landry Shamet, and so it's really too bad that they both play on the same team, because I think they're just both hideous people. And so as a result of that, by extension of that, I never think that they're going to be good players, and then suddenly that guy is single-handedly beating your team. And then that was the fourth quarter. It was like they weren't hitting threes. Karl Anthony Towns did not shoot a three in this, or didn't make a three in this game until the fourth quarter. Because again, he was just bully ball in the paint. He was getting whatever he wanted, off balance shit on the baseline. It was just ripping the net. He was not touching the rim. But then you get into the fourth quarter, and the Knicks figured it out. The Pistons were soft inside. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Is it as simple as the Knicks, again, learned last year how to go up a level, and the Pistons just haven't had that experience yet? Like a large majority of these guys who are playing in that game, this is their first playoff experience, right? And then, at the risk of repeating myself too many times, the only guys who didn't seem too fazed by it were the veterans, and that's why they were brought in the first place. That's why Trajan Langdon brought them here, was for a moment like that, right? And Cade, I felt like, especially in the first half, wasn't getting to his spots. He was forcing shots. I think you could argue that for the entire team. And even when things were fine, even when it was like maybe they're down 2 or they're up 4 or whatever it is, it was like, how do we either get out of this very small hole as quickly as possible, or how do we avalanche this thing as quickly as possible? And I think their largest lead was maybe 9. And I don't know what just happened. I feel like I just got flashbanged. It just kind of happened. Fourth quarter just kind of happened. These dumb turnovers, you let up 21 points up in a row consecutively. And in the process of that, you have like 7, 8, or 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter, just dumb turnovers. You're just trying to force it so bad, and you're trying to get back into the game, and you just can't. And I'm just... it sucks, man. I said that I wanted the Pistons to go back to Detroit tied. I want a 1-1 series going back to Detroit. That is still entirely within the realm of possibility, because I believe that the Knicks will get one of Detroit's best shots in the next game, right? But it hurts because you could have stole that game and you were 12. How long is an NBA quarter? Is it 12 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? 12 minutes. You were 12 minutes away from that happening, and you just kind of let it slip away. Because, again, the Knicks have been there. They know what playoff basketball is like. It's hard once the Garden realizes that the Knicks have a chance again and that they're not actually dead. It's hard to overcome that, right? It's one thing when it's the beginning of the game and there are some jitters and it's 3 quarters of just consistent basketball from Detroit and you're not seeing it. Man, what just happened? Crazy. Can I be honest with you guys? I feel like embarrassed to admit this, but I was wearing my Isaiah Stewart jersey for the whole game. I don't wear jerseys. That is not what I do. The last time I wore that Isaiah Stewart jersey was the only time I've ever worn it. I wore it in Staples Center the game after Isaiah Stewart came back from his suspension after trying to kill LeBron James. It was in Los Angeles. That was his first game back. I wore that to a Laker game. That's the last time I wore it. That was like 3-4 years ago. 3.5 years ago was the last time I wore that Isaiah Stewart jersey. I'm excited, man. We've been waiting for this moment for so long. I haven't been in the playoffs in 6 years. Haven't played in a playoff series that we actually believed that we could win a game in like 15 years, if we're being honest. Because 18-19, we were not going to get a game on the Bucks. It was never going to happen. And then the 15-16 season, when we got swept by the Cavs, who ended up coming back from being down 3-1 against the Warriors. You lose to that team, no shame in that. And there was no way that the Pistons were going to get a single game in either of those series. But this was one that you really felt like they could, and so I'm pulling out all the stops, and I'm wearing my Isaiah Stewart jersey. And then the fourth quarter happens, and I took it off. I just felt embarrassed. I felt stupid that I was like rooting for the team, but that I was as enthused as I was, and that I was wearing like a getup. And so I just took it off, and I start doing this thing where for the whole game I'm wearing the jersey and I'm standing in a very specific spot. I stood in that spot for the entire game. And then the fourth quarter happens. I rip the jersey off. I'm pacing around. I'm like kneeling around the TV. I can't find the spot where the voodoo is going to change. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out, where do I need to be standing in my living room or sitting in my living room or kneeling? Do I need to lay down? Do I need to lay in the fetal position in order for the voodoo to change for this game? I couldn't figure it out. I don't know if this loss is on me because I could not figure out at home what I was supposed to be wearing and where I was supposed to be standing, and should I have been pacing for this game? I don't know, but it worked for 3 quarters and then suddenly it just didn't. It's a physical game. Such a physical game. Did I say shell-shocked yet? I had so much for this game and I'm 15 minutes into it. Have I said anything yet? I can't believe it was Campaign that did it. That's what pisses me off. It could have been anybody else. It was that it was Campaign that I can't stomach it. And when the Knicks are shooting into the ocean and it's just not on for the, there was a moment with a minute and a half, if that, left in the game. I think the Pistons cut it to 6, maybe 5, and you're like, oh, okay, let's chill for a second and then it was another turnover. Okay, all right. So it's not here. Brunson did have a few moments in this game where it looked like... Can I give you a note about Jalen Brunson? I think he has the best hair in the league. That's my Jalen Brunson take from this game, without commenting on how he actually played. But I do give... I made the comment at the beginning about how there was some ticky-tack shit that got called and it really bothered me. But it was never anything that really affected the game in a major way. There wasn't an insane free throw disparity. Maybe down the stretch there was, but for a large majority of this game, they were super even. And I think going into the fourth quarter, each team had shot just barely over 10 free throws. So it was they were somehow letting them play while also not letting them play. It was really interesting to watch that one unfold. The Pistons get frustrated by the end of the game. Brunson takes a foul from Malik Beasley and he gives him a little shove and Bill Kennedy's like, just let it go. The game's over. Let's not do this shit. But it's something to keep an eye on that, hey, man, it's going to get a lot more physical as we go on. And a lot of rejections in this game. Duran had one early in the game that ended up getting reviewed. They had originally called it a shooting foul, and then that would have given him 3 with 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Would not have been good. But they reviewed it, and what just happened? I don't know what to say. Me pausing right there wasn't me for dramatic effect. I don't know what just happened. And I am overreacting to this, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do right now. I can't wait until game 2. I just need them to play tomorrow. Run it back tomorrow. Pistons lose game 1 against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. They're not dead. I'm not worried about this. I'm not convinced that the series is over. Nobody in the world should be. If the Knicks had missed, 3 shots, even 3 shots in that fourth quarter, it would have been a different game. But 21 points in a row, 7, 8, or 9 turnovers in that fourth quarter for Detroit. And it just kind of happens. And just like that, the Pistons are down 1-0 to the New York Knicks. What else did we have? It was a cool day of playoffs. I had a nice slate of NBA games. Bucks Pacers. Here's my thing, Bucks fans. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can watch this happen. I can't watch it happen. They're gonna go out fucking sad, and it will break my heart. And if, God forbid, the unthinkable Bucks fans, without saying what I want to say, you know exactly what I want to say, what could happen this summer with Milwaukee if they go out sad, I think I might cry. I think if Giannis gets traded, I might for real, just shed a little bit of a tear. Because it's like, it's funny how many Bucks fans, like, I'll say something about them, and, like, you'll be, like, we had Leo, a frequent listener of the show, nice guy, hot Leo. He made a comment about, like, why does everybody forget that Giannis, he was hurt in the Atlanta series, and it was a miracle that he even came back. He's right about that, but I'm like, dog, stop trying to fight me. I was on the motherfucking streets of your city with a camera and a microphone celebrating your championship the night that it happened. I'm not the guy that, like, you don't need to convince me about dick or balls. I'm here for you, brother. I was literally in the trenches, okay? It's going to suck. But when I watch Milwaukee play Indiana and you look at that roster top to bottom, if I put a gun to your head a month ago before Damian Lillard got blood clots, and I said, you're not a Bucks fan, and I said, who is Ryan Rollins? You would be dead. You'd be dead. You would not have an answer for me. Where did he go to school? Wasn't it Toledo? You would be dead. And he's starting in the playoffs. I don't think there's a single player on the Bucks roster who played in Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo who would have gotten a single minute on that Pacers roster in the exact same game. They were fucking terrible. They were terrible. And it's funny to me that we cling so desperately to this legacy bullshit when a player like Giannis goes out there and he's the only one who is doing anything. He's the only guy who can even tie his fucking shoes on the court. And we hold a playoff series, which, by the way, it's over. The series is over. This is like one of the only series outside of like a Boston or a Cleveland series where you're chalking it after. It's over. The Bucks are not winning this series. They can't. I believe that Giannis may have a game or two where he just goes absolutely berserk, which, by the way, he kind of did today, and it doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. But watching them go out the way, Kyle Kuzma, man, I held his stock, and I still do, but that NASDAQ is plummeting right now. I don't know how you play as many minutes as he does, and all you do is just eat fouls. That's all that I don't know, man. Whatever. It's over. It's over, and it sucks to watch this happen the way that it's happening. But, like, you can't pin this on him, but when you talk about, like, ranks culture and legacy shit and, like, well, he lost this playoff series and this is his record in the playoffs, and I'm like, you're completely stripping it of its context, right? It really rubs me the wrong way, and I just think, I don't know. Are people going to pin this on Giannis? That's not really what I'm saying, but 2 years from now, people aren't going to fucking care about that. Maybe they will. I'm just upset. I'm emotional, and it's one thing to watch the Pistons lose the way that they did, but it's a completely other thing to just watch the Bucks go out sad. And I was worried. You're worried. Oh, Nick Dame's gonna come back. Cool. Okay. Halliburton was terrible. I say he was terrible. Offensively, he was terrible. I don't know. Maybe that's what you need if you're Milwaukee, is you just need Tyrese Halliburton to revert back to how he was for like the first month of the season, where he was completely MIA and nobody had any idea what was going on with him. And then today he goes like 0 for 100 from 3 and puts up like 10 points. You're like, what's going on with him? But there's just so many guys around him. What I said at the beginning, I think is the take from this whole thing. I don't think there was a single player in Milwaukee, for Milwaukee today, that would have played a single minute for the Pacers in the exact same game. They were terrible. And whatever. Who cares? It's over. I'm sorry, Bucks fans. But it's over. What else do we have? Clippers Nuggets went to overtime. Nuggets win 112-110. How funny is it that we got to see game 1 of this series where we get like the real life Russell Westbrook experience, the full experience, and the full beginning to end James Harden experience in the exact same game for two completely different teams? I still cannot believe that Russell Westbrook did not take that shot to end regulation. He had it. Listen, man, fractions of seconds in the NBA matters. And Russell Westbrook had it on the wing. He got that pass from Jokic with, 2.5 seconds left. Harden was on him. He hesitated for those fractions of seconds instead of just putting up the damn shot. And then he tried to, like, pump fake in the air, bounce it off of Harden, get the ball back to record scratch freeze frame. You're probably wondering how the Nuggets got here. It doesn't matter. They ended up winning in overtime, so who cares, right? But it's like, you really do live by the Russ and tie by the Russ. You know what I mean? That's what sent it to overtime, is Russell Westbrook just not taking a shot inexplicably. Who's otherwise good in this game, had a couple moments where he just pulls off these deflections, and then he does that thing where he's running down the court, and he's like, yeah, I'm literally Russell Westbrook. And it was cool. You know, I don't think there's a more fun guy to watch when he's embraced by the fan base. You know, it's funny, actually. You have a guy like Harden and a guy like Russell Westbrook in the series. You could say the same thing about both of them. Like, when they finally get back in their bag, both of them have been great this year. So I say finally pretty liberally, right? But when they get back in their bag after however much discourse there was about them in a negative connotation, and then also when a fan base is just like gets behind them, and when they're playing happy, and I think both of them have been doing that this season. And when Russ originally went to Denver, I think a lot of us, maybe even on this show, I think clowned it a little bit. Really, how's that supposed to work? And it turns out it actually just worked. But what is he wearing, number 4 this year? Because Christian Brown is wearing 0. I think 4 looks great on Russell Westbrook. He's been great this year, and just accepting his role, and he still just does everything. He still just does all the little things. And you know, watching this game, you know, can I give here's a little commentary about Kawhi. What was it, like a month ago, that Stephen A. Smith had that quote where he was like, I'm just waiting for Kawhi to get hurt. That's what I'm waiting for. Because it's going to happen, and we can talk about them in the playoffs, but like, I'm just waiting for Kawhi to get hurt. Everybody gave him shit for that. But I got to tell you, every single piece of commentary that I've seen leading up to the playoffs, and now that the playoffs are here, has been centered on the fact that the only way that the Clippers make any sort of run is if Kawhi stays healthy. And it's always a matter of like, but is he really going to stay healthy? Everybody says the same shit that Stephen A. Smith said. He just said it a month ago when the Clippers were in the middle of like an 18-3 stretch since March 5th. And so now he's the asshole. You can call him an asshole if you want, but say it because he just randomly sent a shot at LeBron for not being present at Kobe's funeral, and then in the next hour of First Take immediately had to walk that back and apologize. I don't think he got nearly enough shit for that. It was for like 24 hours, people were mad about that, and then they just kind of moved on. But him saying, I'm just waiting for Kawhi to get hurt, it's a kind of a shitty thing to say, but then literally everybody else says it, and it's like, okay, but he's the asshole and fuck him. Because Kawhi has been incredible this year. The Claw, as he was, right? As he still is. And so I thought that the Clippers kind of had it in hand for the whole game, and then suddenly they just kind of didn't. It's still funny to me to watch Jokic shoot threes because he just looks so damn inconvenienced by it. It's like he's just like, every time he gets a touch from 27 feet away from the basket, he's just kind of like, it's almost like you can see him sighing and shrugging his shoulders and being like, fine, I'll put this shot up. Let's do it. And then it sometimes goes in, and I don't know. It's fine. Nuggets pulled that one off. The Pistons lost. Did I talk about that yet in this episode? I'm so just shocked, man. Sorry, I'm trying to find the other games. No, okay. Wow, the Timberwolves are up 11 at halftime as of this taping. Do I want to do some emails? I'm sorry, guys. I'm shocked. I'm so razzled by that game.